Work here with Jeff Spencer.
What's going on?
We thought we just wanted to have a little webinar here. You know, we talk about this stuff all the time, but thought it might be interesting to have a little interactive component here and just kind of continue the conversation about the construction industry in general and how to succeed in these difficult times.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're also waiting on another partner, Chris Work. He'll be here just in a few minutes. He's just running a little bit behind.
Yeah, we're all kind of discombobulated tonight. We can't get the stuff to work. Again, if y'all can't see us, sorry about that. If you can see us, sorry about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, let's just get going.
All right.
So, So we've kind of talked about the industry in general. Jeff, what's just to recap? You know, what's your take on the construction industry as we stand here in February of 2021?
Well, right now in our area, Middle Tennessee, it's looking pretty good. You know, it's there was a lot of worry for the last few months, you know, wondering what the presidential race is going to do and how it's going to affect the economy, how it's going to affect, you know, with ongoing projects and future projects. But right now, we're steadily bidding on work. You know, we're getting bid invites on a daily basis, and seems like everything is just business as usual. So I mean, it's just really good right now, and that's a good sign, you know, for this day and time. And who knows what the future holds, but right now it's good.
Of course, there are parts of the country that are not as fortunate that
Right.
are struggling. So what do you specialize in?
Grading and utilities. The company I work for now, we do mostly utilities, but you know, I've got almost 30 years in now, and it's all been in grading and utilities.
Okay. Well, so you say business is good. I assume it's not just all diamonds and roses. I mean, are you guys experiencing any troubles or, you know, issues these days?
Well, you know, one of the main troubles we have is finding help, and I think it's because you know, we are so blessed right now with the amount of work and the amount of jobs that's going on. I mean, you drive downtown Nashville, and you know, it shouldn't be a problem to count, you know, 15 to 20 cranes, tower cranes set up at one time. So you know, work is good. There's just a lot of work going on in this area, but everybody's used up. I mean, we can't find employees. You know, we need employees just like other contractors we deal with. We talk to them on a daily basis, and they're in the same boat we're in. You know, they're looking for employees, and that brings us to another topic. You know, is the right kind of employees.
Mm-hmm.
That's one struggle we've had over the last really 2 or 3 years, is finding good, skilled people that are qualified to do the kind of work you need them to do.
Why is that? Why are there no skilled workers anymore?
Well, I think, you know, in this day and time, one thing, you know, kids are, when they're brought up in more of an urban setting. You know, they're taught early on that, you know, computers and tech, you know, that's the way to go, and other trades in the field, you know, as far as medical and nursing, doctors, and, you know, of course, there is a need for those people. You know, we do need those people, but those degrees aren't always the best degrees to have. And one thing that's really sad that I'm seeing is a lot of your young adults are coming into the workplaces with no work ethic. You know, they don't know how to work. They've never been taught to work. You know, it goes back to, you know, when farming was a big thing in our area. You know, there's still a lot of farms around here, but we've got more suburbs now than what we have farms. And kids are raised up, you know, to play games, watch TV, do computer type stuff, you know, to further education. But as far as physical labor, physical work goes, they're few and far between. You know, nobody's taught that.
Kids don't like to work anymore.
No, and that's a big issue right now. You know, a lot of kids have this mentality that, you know, they're owed something right off the bat. You know, they're entitled. And that's just not the case. It's what this country is founded on, and what America's about, is you get what you earn. You have to get out and work for it.
Mhm.
And, I'm not saying that, of course, you're in the computer business, but I know for a fact, you work day in and day out and a lot of hours, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I also know that you grew up on a farm, and if it comes down to it and you had to get out and lay hands on something, you know how to do it, and you can make a living, doing back-breaking work.
Grew up scratching potatoes out of the dirt fields down at the farm. Boy, I hated it, but looking back, it was good for me.
Yeah, I never really minded digging the potatoes as much as I did carrying the baskets.
It worked, man.
Yeah. But that's the issues I see. Is the quality of workforce that's out there. It's just few and far between. It's not. You'd be lucky. I'd say 1 out of every 30 that you look at to hire might be qualified or willing to work. To earn a day's pay. And
I would imagine just even for a laborer, rates are very good these days.
Oh, they are. It's and that's one reason, because there's not enough employees or skilled employees to go around. So that has driven up the cost to hire someone, because you're pretty much going to have to find someone that's not happy where they're at and rob them away. That from the job that they're currently doing to do the same thing for you, and to do that, they've got to get paid more money. And it goes back to supply and demand. Right now we've got a lot of supply going on and a lot of demand going on, and not much supply, rather, excuse me. So not material so much as it is employees. And that's a real struggle, trying to find someone that is willing to work, someone that is capable to work and knows how to work. Those are just things that are not being taught nowadays. And what's sad, we've hired some people in the past that didn't even last just a day or two, because, just for instance, just a couple of years ago, we hired 2 guys at the same time, and they didn't know anything about it. They said they was willing to work, wanted to learn. We put them to work. We was working in the street downtown Nashville, so we started them off easy. Square point, shovel, and a broom. All they do is keep asphalt clean, for pedestrians walking by and oncoming traffic, and that way it'd be easier to tidy up at the end of the day, to get the street plated and everybody go home. All be a good, safe project. Come lunchtime, both of them drug up. They said we didn't hire on to work as hard. And, it's the other guys, they were, just going at it just as hard as they could go. And those guys, they just stand around, one laying on a shovel, one laying on a broom. Yeah. And maybe every 5 minutes, they got to spend 2 minutes, to do their job, and then they lean on it again. Yeah, but that was too tough for them.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned materials. I know lumber prices are way up and that kind of thing. Is that a problem for you all?
Well, it's not so much a problem for us, because we don't have to have a whole lot of lumber in our scope of work, but we do some subdivision work, and we're still bidding subdivisions. They're still going on, but they're at a raised value right now, because the building packages have almost tripled in price in the last year.
Material cost 3 times more.
Yeah.
To build something.
Yeah. And that's we heard rumors that after the first year it's going to go down, but I don't know what after the first of the year is, if it's 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, but, so far they're steadily climbing. Go back, Chris. Here's our other partner.
The other partner just walked up.
Yeah, he made it in.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. So, how are you finding anybody to work?
Well, we're really not. It's like I said, we take applications, we interview people, and go through the process. Some people we hire and put them out there, and either, they can't do their job and not willing to learn, or, we just try to give them opportunities, and it just doesn't work out. It's just, they get to the point to where it's costing us money trying to train someone that can't catch on, or not interested in catching on, more to be more truthful about it.
So for someone looking for a career, I mean, the supply and demand right now works way in their favor if somebody wants to work hard and learn some trade skills.
As long as you're not in the pipeline business, yeah. Yeah.
Pipeline business may
Yeah.
not be the best.
No.
But what about hiring friends and family?
You know, I would stay away from it. Just from past experience, it's, you know, there's a lot of family business out there that have been successful, and there's nothing wrong with family business. But when you start hiring your cousins or your nephews or nieces or, you know, so on and so forth, you know, their idea of what they need to do and your idea of what they need to do are two different things a lot of times, and it can cause hardships. You know, it can cause hardships between you and closer relatives, and you know, it's nothing harder than to discipline someone that is family.
Right.
And, you know, they all, you know, not all of them, but a lot of family members, when they go into the workforce working for other family, come in with there again an entitlement chip on their shoulders, like, you know, it's, well, this is my uncle, you know, this is my cousin or whatever, and they're not going to be so hard on me. You know, I can do this, I can do that, and get away with it, but that's not the case. You know, I mean, it causes hardships, especially when money's involved, and you have to also set a good work ethic for your other employees as well as your current customers. And so, you know, when you've got bad employees out there or entitled employees that's not doing their job, then it comes back to look on your company as not being a very well maintained or very well run company.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, and friends are the same way. You know, I've hired friends in the past, and I've had good friends that work for me and never had an issue with. I've had good friends that work for me and end up costing me friendship in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's just like they never could get the concept, you know, like, you know, we're friends on the way to work, we're friends after work, but during the day, you know, you got a job to do, and we're not friends during that time.
Right.
But they just never could get that grasp of it, and it ended up costing some friendships.
Well, so in general, though, your business is good. The economy in this area is robust. But so let's talk about some strategies for someone who is trying to build a business.
Right.
I mean, what are a couple of strategies that can really help you be more successful in construction?
But one thing is, you know, it starts off when you bid a project, you know, you got an estimator or project manager that's looking at this project, putting pricing together. And, you know, everyone has a way. When I'm looking at a set of drawings, I go out and physically look at the raw site. You know, in my mind, I start, you know, picturing how this job's going in, whether it be grade work or whether it be utilities, you know, and I picture what is going to be the best solution to get this job done in a timely fashion for the least amount of cost to me or my owner,
Mm-hmm.
the owner of my company. So what I look at, you know, is like, one thing you want to do is like once you're awarded this project, the best thing to do is get your foreman in there that you're going to put to this job. Get him in, you know, early as possible. Y'all go over the drawings. You tell him what your thoughts are. And just because I bid the job doesn't mean that I bid it with the best knowledge of how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my foreman, we have great foremen where I work, and they're very skilled, and they got a lot of good ideas, you know, so it's good to bring them in and question them, you know, how would you do this? You know, how would you do that? And then you kind of get a feeling of what they're leaning towards, and you can figure out if they're going to be more productive than what you were thinking or less productive, and then that's something y'all got to work out.
Okay.
You know, you got to get that figured out.
So you and the foreman, the supervisors, sort of create the vision together.
Right.
So you're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Vision is congruent, and then you go create the bid
Mm-hmm.
based on everybody's thinking.
Yeah. And, you know, it doesn't matter who you are, but, you know, when you bring your foreman in and talk to them, or your superintendent, you know, what this job's going to be and how it's going to progress. You know, I may have, you know, just say 200 days in this job, but I'm not going to let them know I've got 200 days in this job. I'm going to tell them I've got 150 days in this job, because I want them to, in their mind, to know, you know, we got to get out, we got to get this job done, and or we're going to lose money.
Because making money in construction is all about getting the job done ahead of your budget.
But yeah, well, just like, if you and I are bidding against each other as far as materials, our materials are going to be within 1.5% of each other, because we're going to get basically the same quotes, unless one of us is not, good about paying our bills, and, your supplier raises your quote on a regular basis because he's going to have to bankroll you for several months. You do get that reputation when you don't pay your bills, and your suppliers react. You don't get the best prices.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've got to, as far as us, competing against each other, our materials are irrelevant. Where I'm going to beat you or you're going to beat me is in production.
Mm-hmm.
How many guys are going to take? How many pieces of equipment are going to take? Who's got the best strategy? Who can get in and get out and do the best job? I mean, we both are probably going to do a good job, or we wouldn't continue to be in business. So if you do shoddy work, you're going to get a reputation, and people's not going to want to deal with you. But if you go in and do good work, then my production or your production is where you or I one are going to get the job, and where you or I one are going to make the most money. Because where you can save on equipment and save on labor, that's where you come in under budget.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, so let's shift to you have started an awarded job. You're on the job site working. Then what's how can you maximize that your performance on that job?
Well, first thing is, look at the size of the job. Look at your, if you're doing grading, look at your haul paths, haul roads. How far are you going to be moving material? And then at that point, you need to figure out, what equipment you need. You don't want to overload your job with equipment, because that costs you money too. Mm-hmm. Whether you own it or you're renting, it's either way. When you're wasting rental money for a piece of equipment just sitting still. And if you own the equipment, if it's just sitting still, a lot of people say, well, no harm, no foul. Well, not really. If that equipment's on that job site and it's just sitting still most of the time, it could be on another job site making you money. Mm-hmm. So, don't overload your job with equipment, but also you don't want to starve your job for equipment and men. Because if you don't have enough equipment and men there to get to production, it's going to show pretty quick. But having too much can also cost you in production. But, that's one thing that you got to figure out is, what's going to be your best strategy. How can I get the quickest turnaround on moving material or digging ditch or whatever it may be? What is the most ideal piece of equipment or pieces of equipment I need to get this done? And every job site, whether it be cross country, whether it be building a new road, whether it be a site downtown, you got to look at the size of that, and especially downtown. You got to look at other trades. There's going to be other trades there working with you as well. So you got to take that into account. How you're going to be maneuvering around these other trades and getting them sectioned into one side while you're on another side, and you're constantly going to be moving. And it's good to coordinate with other trades when you get into a tight site like that. It's just because the GC project manager or the GC itself has weekly meetings to deal with his agenda, then it's not bad for you to get with your other contractors there and have your own little meeting and hey, I need to work over here. Where can you go? And this guy over here, where do you have to work at? Mm-hmm. Find that out, because you've got to keep a working relationship with them as well as get your production too. And utilizing your laydown areas, your storage areas for your materials. That's very costly if you don't do it right. You've got to be able to look at areas that's going to be best for you to stockpile spoil material. Because you don't want to put it somewhere it's going to be in the way of your utility crews or another trade that's going in. Well, then you stop them from working, you've got to move it. Mm-hmm. So, you don't want to have, just say 5, 6, 7,000 yards of material piled up and it's in the way all the time. You're having to steadily move it out of someone's way. Mm-hmm. And, so you need to look at those scenarios as well. And same thing with physical materials, pipe, RCP, water pipe, whatever it may be. You don't want to stockpile this stuff and have it, right on top of a major cut you got to make. Or you don't want to stockpile this stuff and have it right on top of other utility lines that you're going to have to move it, because that gets into your pocket. You're steadily moving material, trying to find somewhere to put it. That's just not a good scenario. If there's not enough room, take this stuff, and you need to look at this in your bidding, procedures. Take this stuff off site to another location, but, make sure you got enough money there to transport this material back and forth as you need it. But keep it off-site, keep it out of the way, on-site, whatever you got to do to get the most production for you. And like I said, you got to be curious or courteous to your other fellow contractors.
Is this another area where it's useful to get together with your foreman at the upcoming job site for you guys to kind of talk through that kind of thing?
Most definitely, yes. And, because you both got to be on the same page. And if you're a large enough company that you have 1, 2, 3 superintendents that run your crews, then you have that meeting with him and then let him dictate which crew he's going to send out there. But, all this stuff, is very important as far as production goes.
What about just as far as how you present yourself on the job site in terms of how clean your equipment is or how messy your job site is?
That's very important, especially for future products with this contractor or, or owner, whoever you may be dealing with. And because there's other contractors that are riding down the road, that see these job sites, and when they go by and see a neat, clean job site and they see well-maintained equipment, it doesn't have to be new equipment, just as long as it's well-maintained, taken care of, and, pickup trucks. That's one thing that I learned a long time ago. You don't necessarily have to have a brand new pickup truck sitting on site, but if your pickup truck is in good shape and it's clean, then people recognize it. And they're like, that's the kind of people I want working on my site.
So that's marketing, because other potential employers or even who you're working for now will notice that.
Yes.
And that will go into their thinking about how to run your business.
Right. Well, and then another thing too, if you do have, nice equipment, fairly new equipment, then you present yourself as a more stable business. When you got stuff out there and you got mixed match equipment, you got old ragged equipment, and it looks bad, and then you've got, several trucks out there that are just like they're falling apart and filthy, caked with mud or whatever, that sends another message saying, this company, they may not have it all going on. And generally that reflects what kind of work you're going to get. When you see nice, clean job sites, nice, clean equipment, that tells me you're going to get a nice, clean job. When you see ragged equipment out there and just old beat up trucks and stuff, dirty, then that tells me that's the kind of production you're going to get.
Right, and a neat job site, probably worth spending a few minutes at the end of the day to pick up debris, trash.
Right, and that's another thing too. At the end of the day, Mother Nature doesn't have a timeline. You never know what Mother Nature is going to do, especially if you're in grading, but also in utilities. When you got open ditches, but every day you need to shut down, or in my opinion, that's what I try to get my guys to do. Every day you need to shut down 30 minutes to an hour early to prep your job site for the next day's work. So if does come a rain or, whatever Mother Nature throws at you, you don't want to spend days and days trying to get this thing dried out to where you can go back to work. So fill your ditches in, get your low spots filled in. If you can, you compact or elite divots. When they get through vibrating and rolling, whatever lifts you put in, take your dozer, your motor grader, whatever you got, blade that off. It's still a good hard surface, but just fill those divots in where it won't hold water. If you got stuff piled up on the side of your roads or on the side of your site where water can't get out, cut your ditch in at a low point, let your water have a way to get out, to get off your site.
A lot of what we're talking about seems to kind of revolve around thinking ahead. It's not just, you don't just show up and start working.
Right. Well, that's what, my dad used to always tell me, when you leave a job site, at the end of the day, your mentality needs to be right then, what are we going to do tomorrow? Be focused on, at your deal on the way home, and what you're thinking about, is what you're going to have your guys do the next day. Don't show up on site the next morning, get your drawings out, and then try to figure out, spend an hour and a half trying to figure out what you want to get everybody to do. That morning, when you get out of the truck, you already got a plan. Now, those plans change from time to time because of stuff that's unforeseen, but, be prepared, because more times than not, you're going to have a plan and it's going to work out.
Our computer is way down at the end of the table, Jeff, but I think I can see a question that someone had just sent in.
Okay.
they're basically asking, so what if you're just getting started? You know, how can you get that first job? You're brand new.
Well, it's a lot of different variances there. You know, it's tough, but you've got to get into a bidding process more than likely. And that goes back to, you know, what we've talked about in the past is building relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you've been working for someone and now you've branched off and started your own business, you know, always try to make those relationships with the people you're working for, as far as contractors and owners, developers, you know, whoever it may be. And, you know, reach out to them. Say, hey, have you got anything I can give you a price on? Have you got anything, you know, I can do for you by the hour? You know, just look at those type of situations and try to build off those. You know, works. I don't know where you're from or what part of the country you're in, but you know, if work's out there, then you can find work if you look hard enough. But the thing is, you know, if you're going into business, and I've said this, and my dad used to say this also, you know, you need to be able to sustain for up to 6 months, because it may take you 6 months to land your first job, depending on the economy and what the workforce is doing. But, you know, right now in our area, you know, you may bid something right now. It may be 3 weeks to 8 weeks before you know if you've got that job or not. And then it may be another 2 months, maybe 3 months before it starts. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you start the bidding process right now, you know, just be prepared to be in for the long haul. It may be 4 to 5 months before you actually land your first job. But having those contacts, you know, you can reach out to those guys and let them know that, hey, I'm in need of work, and there's a good chance that you may be able to pick up something.
Sort of before you just run out and try to start your own business, you need to build those relationships up over time. Right?
Oh, yeah.
You need to prove that you can do really good work, and then build those relationships over time.
Yeah.
When the day comes. And like I say, make sure you have cash.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's you know, it's tough to sustain, you know, getting started out. And I can't remember now, but I think it was actually one of our customers that had brought up this question maybe a year or so ago, but talking along the same line, you know, how do I prepare for this, or what do I do? You know, if you're working for someone currently and haven't started your business yet, you know, it's good to go ahead and talk to some of these developers and get their feedback. You know, hey, if I do venture out, you know, could you possibly use me? You know, build these connections and stuff where, you know, you may have work. You may actually have the opportunity to bid this work before you ever leave the company you're working for to start your own business. Mm-hmm. And that's really a good way to do it, you know, is to build those relationships, get work lined up, and then cut ties, start your business, and then, you know, 2 to 3 weeks later, you got a job.